In this video, we're going to show you how to replace a front wheel bearing on your G35 Infiniti. Using a 21mm socket, remove the 5 lug nuts. Remove the wheel. Using a 22mm socket, we're going to remove the 2 caliper bolts. Pull the caliper up and out of the way. I'm going to hang it on a hook that's hanging off of the upper control arm to make sure we have no pressure on this hose while it's hanging. Remove the rotor. Using a 36mm socket, remove the axle nut. Remove the 2 10mm bolts for the brake line bracket. Pull that off of the knuckle. Remove the ABS harness from the strut, just at those 2 connections. Using a pair of pliers, I'm going to bend the cotter pin straight. Then remove it. Using an 18mm socket, remove the ball joint nut off the upper control arm. We're going to hit this with a hammer and release the ball joint out of the knuckle, just like that. And then we're going to leave this up and out of the way while we drop our knuckle forward. Make sure the splines are free on the CV axle and pull forward on the knuckle. We're going to pull the CV axle out of the hub. Remove the cotter pin. Using a 19mm socket, remove the nut. We're going to hit right here with a hammer to release the ball joint out of the knuckle, just like that. Using a 17mm socket, we're going to remove the 4 wheel bearing bolts. Using an air hammer with a chisel, we're going to twist the wheel bearing hub inside of the knuckle to break most of the tension, and then we'll push it out. With the bearing twisted, we're now going to use a small chisel to go through the bolt hole on the back and push the bearing forward. I'm going to use a wire brush and clean all inside of here and clean the face of this. Install the hub assembly into the backing plate and install that into the knuckle. Grab your bolts and put them through and start them into the new hub assembly. With all the bolts started, go around and snug them down. Torque the hub bolts to 72 foot-pounds. Install the nut and snug it down. Torque the nut to 64 foot-pounds and up to an additional 60 degrees or until you can fit a cotter pin through a slot in the nut. Install a cotter pin and then bend it around. Install the axle back into the hub. Line the splines up and push it through. Put the brake line bracket around the knuckle again and install the two 10mm bolts. This car only has one now because one of them broke. Install the axle nut. Snug it down. Using a pry bar in between the studs, we're going to torque the axle nut to 230 foot-pounds. Install the upper control arm into the knuckle. Put the nut on, snug it down. Torque it to 46 foot-pounds. Install a cotter pin and bend that around. Install the ABS sensor harness back into the strut assembly. Install the rotor. Grab your caliper, pull it down, install the caliper onto the rotor. Install the caliper bracket bolts. Torque the caliper bracket bolts to 113 to 14 foot-pounds. Install the wheel. Start your 5 lug nuts. Snug all the lug nuts down. And we'll torque them on the ground. Torque your wheels to 80 foot-pounds in a star pattern.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.